Well, it is that time of year again. It is December. I can't believe it. I just wanted to say thank you for watching my videos for another year and appreciate all the support and engagement. Today, I'm going to be talking about a topic that I talk about every year in December. What should advisors be focused on through year end? And there are table stakes things that we know advisors should be doing and engaging in. And then there's a couple of ideas I'm going to give you for things that I think you should spend your time on over the next couple of weeks. So table stakes, business planning, annual business planning, setting goals and objectives, making sure the team is on the same page about what you're trying to achieve, how you're going to know you're achieving it, etc. Marketing planning, advisors should have a budget, usually between 2 to 10% of gross revenue, and have a general idea of the activities that they're going to be focused on each quarter and reasonably what they hope to achieve from a new client perspective and usually new assets or revenue coming in. And then third, financial budgeting and forecasting, obviously really important that you don't just have a view of what revenue could look like at the end of next year, what profits are going to look like, but I also want advisors to focus on what does employee compensation look like towards the end of next year and then even going into 2023. And then what does your own personal compensation look like? So all of that stuff, obviously, we're hoping you're engaging in that type of planning. But here are 5 other things I think it's really important for advisors and their teams to focus on that often falls by the wayside. Okay, the first thing is auditing technology, including all of your tech providers and all of your apps and subscriptions. And I say this for a couple of reasons. The first reason is, and we do this in our personal lives as well, we'll sign up for something, our card will be automatically charged, those recurring charges every month. And sometimes we're really either not taking advantage of the apps or software, not using them, not needing them anymore, not even realizing that we still are getting our cards charged. Yes, there are advisors who maybe don't realize that on an ongoing basis. We want to look at whether we've signed up for very similar services within the same vertical or category. So it's sometimes literally helpful to create a visual or even just list out all the different things that we pay for and the various practice management areas that they fall under. Obviously, we want to find room to optimize and lower costs. The second piece of this, though, is auditing technology and tech providers. I talk a lot about how challenging it is to build and optimize a tech stack. There's so many choices. We often end up, and we meaning wealth management firms will pick sometimes different tech providers that fit different needs across the client engagement spectrum. And what we'll fail to realize is that one service provider that we're using maybe for one thing actually offers really great resources in another area. And so you don't have to make wholesale decisions or change your tech stack, but it is really helpful to know at a basic level, which tech provider are you using for which service? How much are you paying for that service? And then what other services does that platform or a provider provide that you are not leveraging and leveraging? What you may find is that over time, there may be room to consolidate. Maybe you're using one tool just for the portal and you're using another tool for billing and trading. And you may find over time that the deliverables, the value you're getting is very similar across all providers. And you may make a decision to consolidate some things with one. So it always surprises me how many advisors and practice owners I speak to who can't off the top of their head think about how much they're paying, how long the contract is for, and what they're actually paying for. So critically important. The second thing, audit human capital. Obviously, I want advisors to have a really strong sense of, at any given time, by the way, as the business owner, who's on their team, what they're making, what they likely will be making a couple years from now, what role they could develop into, et cetera. When I talk about auditing human capital, I'm also talking about thinking about whether you are overstaffed. And I say overstaffed rather than understaffed because I tend to see the former more than the latter. If you have 200 clients and you have 5 service advisors or service associates on your team, you are probably overstaffed. And so thinking about how you're actually delivering service to the different tiers of clients, how much coverage you need for segments or groups of clients. I mean, we've often said that 80 relationships to one relationship manager or advisor tends to be the standard, but there are so many variables. And so having a strong sense of how many people, how many clients can one service associate handle is really helpful. While you're doing that, um, really important that you actually list out the steps across, again, the entire client engagement process, from lead nurturing to conversion to onboarding to servicing to delivering invoice, everything across the entire spectrum. Have each person who's responsible for each of those steps. Now we're sort of going into number 3, which is systematize repeatable processes. List out all of the repeatable things that they do at every step. What you may find is that there are places where technology could be used versus a human being. There may be times where somebody's using an old system or process. Maybe they're using Excel manually for something where they could be using something else. There's no way to really know that unless you audit what every single person on the team is doing from a repeatable activity standpoint, and then actually systematize those activities. So audit technology and subscriptions, audit human capital, systematize repeatable processes. All 3 of those could be done, by the way, in a 2-hour year-end planning meeting that you're doing with your team in your conference room. Okay, the 4th thing, audit your content and digital footprint. So many times advisors will hire a marketing consultant or an intern or do it themselves. They'll, put content and copy on their website, maybe they'll create a couple of, marketing one-pagers, and we'll never look at that copy again. And I think it's important more than once a year, but let's get started with just once a year. Looking at all the language that you're using in your pitch deck, on your website, in your profiles on social media, in the content that you post in your newsletters, in your signature, and do 2 things. Number 1, is it cohesive? In other words, are you talking the same way about what you do on every channel? And secondly, is it aligned with what you believe and what you want to be putting out there for clients? In many cases, we'll write or create something and then have a different perspective on it, and sometimes on our own value, a year or 2 later, especially, by the way, after going through a year or 2 years, like what we just went through, you may want to tweak the way you talk about what you do and what your value is. And then finally, the 5th thing I think is really important for you to do in December, identify definitively your top clients. Like I talked about that in the last video, super important, even if it's just a handful of households that you really feel are above and beyond the rest in terms of their needs and what you do for them, and certainly the revenue that they generate for your business. But I want you to identify which households received extra special service this year and actually write that out. And that could mean you did calls with their accountant, you helped them, sell a home in a really difficult, home sale. I just made that up. Maybe you sent them special surprise and delight gifts. Whatever it is, I want you to identify the things that you did for those clients. That's going to help you do a couple things. Number 1, it's going to show you that maybe there are gaps. So maybe you've done it sporadically for a couple people, but should have done a little bit extra more for some other clients. It also gives you the basis upon which to build your exceptional service structure for next year. Remember, the key is always to make things scalable and repeatable. The only way to do that is to first understand what you're actually doing and then find opportunities to do the same thing in the same way, in a scalable way next year, perhaps for more people. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I know that's a lot, but you have 4 weeks left. Hope you enjoy the holiday season. I will see you soon in the new year. Take care.